10 of my greatest black lightweights of all times must include the Bobcat of Philadelphia, the great Bob Montgomery. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I want to talk about the Bobcat Bob Montgomery, with an outstanding humanitarian, great fighter. He would be a promoter in 1971, and he would open up the Blue Horizon. The Blue Horizon was located on 1314 North Broad Street, and you would have some great fights in that arena. You had Georgie Benton, Stanley Kitten Haywood, Bad Benny Briscoe, Gypsy Joe Harris, just a few names that Bob Montgomery would be a part of. Let's discuss the career of Bob Montgomery right here on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Now, Bob Montgomery stood 5'7.5" weighed 133 to 136.5 pounds. He was a fighter out of North Philly with a 70-inch reach. Ended his career with a record of 97 total bouts, 75 wins, 37 knockouts, 19 losses, and 3 draws. Now, Bob Montgomery was part of the 19 championship losing streak. What do I mean by that? Ray Robinson would have 19 losses. He was a middleweight. Of course, he was a welterweight champion. Jake LaMotta, who was a middleweight champion, would have 19 losses. Mickey Walker, middleweight champion and welterweight champion. He would end his career with 19 losses. Gil Turner was not a champion, but he was a champion in the minds of Philadelphia. He would have 19 losses. He would be a welterweight and move up to the middleweight division. Dick Tiger was a middleweight and light heavyweight champion. He would end his career with 19 losses. So you see, 19 losses. It's a championship fraternity of great fighters historically. Now, Bob Montgomery would have amateur fights in 1937. 24 wins, no losses, with 22 knockouts. He would have 10 fights and 8 knockouts in 1938. In 1939, he would face Mike Evans, October 23rd, 1939 to be exact, in Philadelphia. It would be for the Philadelphia Lightweight Championship crown. And he would bring on an undefeated streak with a record of 22 wins, 1 draw. He would defeat Mike Evans in 10 rounds. And Bob would face Mike Evans again November 27th, 1939, scoring a first-round knockout in Philadelphia. Now, Bob would lose to Sammy Angad, Lou Jenkins in 1940. No disgrace there, because Lou Jenkins would defeat Hickory Hurricane, Lou Ambers, in 3 rounds, cracking his jaw, sending him to the hospital. He would become a lightweight champion of the world. Sammy Angad would end the career of a former featherweight champion, Petey Cerrone. Sammy Angad was an outstanding fighter as well. He would have multiple fights in Philadelphia. That would be in 1940. 1941, Bob Montgomery would once again take on Lou Jenkins, and he would defeat him in 10 rounds. It would be in New York. And that would be the highlight up until that moment for Bob Montgomery. He would defeat Luther Slugger White, July 14th, 1941, in Baltimore, Maryland. He would take him 10 rounds. And that would be a barn burner. September 8, 1941, Bob Montgomery would take on a fighter by the name of Mike Kaplan in Philadelphia, defeating him in 10 rounds. Now, when he faced Davey Day, October 10th, 1941, he fought him in Chicago, and he would knock him out in 1 round. And that was very impressive to those who were watching his career closely. December 8th, 1941, he would take on Jimmy Garrison in Philadelphia, and he would stop him in 4 rounds. Bob Montgomery was on a roll at this point. 1942, he would face Sammy Angott in New York, and he would lose to him in 12 rounds. He would face Sammy Angott once again July 7th of 1942. He would lose to him again in 12 rounds. Something about Sammy Angott, he just couldn't get past. But October 13th of 42, he would take on Bobby Ruffin, who was a hard puncher in New York, and he would defeat him in 10 rounds. He would split victories with Maxie Shapiro, October 6th and December 1st. 10-round loss and a 10-round victory. He would face Chester Rico and Lulu Castellino. He would take on Gene Johnson, April 30th, 1943. And he would defeat him in 10 rounds. May 21st, 1943. He would become the New York Commission lightweight champion when he would defeat Bojack in 15 rounds in New York's Madison Square Garden. Oh, what a celebration Bob Montgomery would have when he got back to Philadelphia. And I remember Bob Montgomery telling me what that felt like, what it meant to him in the city of brotherly love. You see, Bob Montgomery didn't have it easy coming up in his life. But when he found something that he was proud of, he would stick to it. Having becoming the New York Commission lightweight champion from Bojack, it was only fitting that he would give Bojack a return go. So they would face each other once again, November 19th, 1943, in New York's Madison Square Garden. And he would lose 15 rounds to Bojack and a New York Commission lightweight championship title. And that would devastate Bojack. These men would enter the military. And they would earn $1 for that bout, as they would donate their purses to the military, the U.S. Army. Now he would face Bojack once again, August 4th, 1944, and he would lose in 10 rounds in New York's Madison Square Garden. He would take on Wesley Monroe's twice. We'd be stopped in 2 rounds, August 19th, 1946. But then he would knock him out in 8 rounds, November 26th, in 1946. Now he would once again earn the title and then take on Ike Williams in 1947, August 4th to be exact. And he would be stopped in 6 rounds for the unification lightweight championship crown. Now he knocked out Ike Williams in 1944, but Ike Williams would gain redemption in 1947. Now during this time, Bob Montgomery was considered the lightweight champion in Philadelphia, not Ike Williams, because Ike Williams was part of the Philadelphia crime family. And he was not beloved in Philadelphia. And during those years, New Jersey fighters, where Ike Williams was from, and Philadelphia fighters had their rivalries. But when Ike Williams knocked out Bob Montgomery, there was no doubt who was the unified champion. Now, I mentioned to you Mike Evans. He had a record of 31 wins, 8 losses. He was from South Philadelphia. He was a lightweight with a record of 18 bouts, having an undefeated streak, and it would be stopped and broken by Bob Montgomery. Mike Evans would face Eddie Cool and Luther Slugger White, but he was no match for Bob Montgomery because he would lose the second time, November 27th, 1939. And Bob Montgomery would be welcomed with open arms to the Slaughterhouse Gym. They would embrace him because Bob Montgomery would be the first and only lightweight champion that gym would produce. Bob would have 5 more bouts in 1943, including a 10-round August 23rd of that year, Philadelphia, with the former world welterweight champion, Pittsburgh Fritzy Zivik. And that was another rival. Fritzy Zivik was a former welterweight champion. October 4th, 1940, he would defeat the great Henry Armstrong. He would defeat Armstrong in a return go in 1941, both in New York's Madison Square Garden. He would stop Henry Armstrong in 12 rounds. Zivik couldn't get past Ray Robinson, as Ray Robinson had told his idol that he would gain redemption over Fritzy Zivik. But Bob Montgomery, who I spoke to quite often, mentioned to me about Philadelphia. He told me that Philadelphia was divided into sections. We would have South Philadelphia, North Philadelphia, and West Philadelphia. He told me about the fighters, such as Billy Arnold, who was a welterweight, Powell Moore, Tim Witherspoon, heavyweight, Midget Wargas, who was a flyweight, Matthew Saad Muhammad. All these men were from South Philly. Philadelphia Jack O'Brien, Len Mathis. But in North Philly, you would have Benny Bass, who was a junior lightweight champion, with a record of 192 wins and 71 knockouts. Georgie Benton, who was a middleweight, who was known as the mayor of Philadelphia, and a brilliant shoulder roll counterpuncher. Yet Jack Blackburn, who was known Chappie, who was lightweight with over 300 bouts. And he would be the trainer of one of the greatest heavyweights of all times, Joe Louis. He would train Jersey Joe Walcott. Walcott would become a heavyweight champion. He would train Sammy Mandel and Lou Ambers and Charles Bud Taylor. We'd also have Harry Blitman, who was a featherweight, Bad Benny Briscoe, middleweight, Gypsy Joe Harris, who was a middleweight and welterweight. West Philadelphia would produce Percy Bassett, who was a featherweight, Young Gene Buffalo, welterweight. Joe Frazier, Sonny Liston would be North Philadelphia fighters. But then he mentioned the venues, such as Shry Park, located on 21st Street and Lehigh Avenue in North Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Ballpark, Broad and Hutchinson Street in North Philadelphia. The Blue Horizon, 1314 North Broad Street in North Philadelphia. The Convention Hall, 34th Street and Spruce Street in West Philadelphia. You would have the Municipal Stadium, Broad Street and Patterson Avenue in South Philadelphia. What a great city to come from. Bob Montgomery is on the list, my opinion, of one of 10 greatest black lightweight champions, but lightweight fighters of all times. Thanks for watching. I'm Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuff series. All great fights and all great fighters would never be forgotten on my channel. Peace.